Okay, Clem,
Yeah.
we haven't seen each other since when? Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay. Haven't talked about anything based on our outfits today. We've got a similar jumper situation going on.
Oh, we do have a similar jumper situation.
But I was feeling a little bit, I suppose, lacking imagination today, but I've now regained that all by watching your outfit. You've really done this on purpose.
What? Okay, but I actually knew that you would have
This
comments
is
on my
really,
outfit.
really,
Triggering.
really good. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, the cap, I think, a good reminder of
Okay.
the favorite
But you're not.
daughter.
Okay.
I will take this off because
It's not, you're not though.
it's flattening my
You're
hair.
not the password child.
We neither of us are the password child.
But I'm saying
I remind you.
I know, but the password child gets to wear that, and you're not that.
Oh, I need to send it to Vic then. Right. But also I don't want to flatten my hair, so that's going to come off. But favorite daughter, definitely.
Okay.
But no, I actually knew you would have an issue with this outfit. Do you know why?
Why?
Because I'm wearing open shoes in winter.
Yeah, well, that's one.
Yeah.
One thing.
Which I know is such a pet hate of
Yeah.
yours. I was going to put socks with it, but then I was like, the trousers are a bit too short.
Okay.
And then I'm wearing my Ross trousers.
Okay, yeah.
That
They make funny noises.
Make funny noises.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I'm just wearing like
And the shoes,
jumper.
you're going on the
Shoes?
moon.
I'm good. They're comfy.
Okay.
They're actually super comfy.
Okay. Well, thankfully.
Do you not like them?
No, I do like them.
They're
But
so nice.
the whole thing is like, whew.
What is it woof about it?
I suppose now that you've taken the cap off, it kind of goes more in the same direction. But so you knew that I was going to say something.
I can always tell when
Yeah.
you'll have comments about my outfits. A little bit like earlier today. So what's really funny, when I did last see you, you were like, "Oh, you're looking really tired at the moment."
Mm.
The next day, I spoke to a friend of mine on Zoom. Literally, the first thing she was like, "Oh my gosh, you look so tired." So I've been feeling really great.
But even today, you look quite tired.
Okay,
What's going on?
I don't know if I've like reached like
Oh,
a
it's an
stage of
age thing.
aging,
Yeah.
but the bags under my eyes have become like unmanageable. I went out and bought 2 eye creams this week.
No, eye cream is not. You need concealer. I mean, eye creams are.
I might be on eye cream. I don't know, but I'm like,
Maybe
I kind
you
of.
have you. You're coming up to 35, aren't you?
I'm already
6.
35.
Oh, yeah,
but
okay.
thanks for the reminder. But yeah, like the
Are
bags.
you getting woken up in the middle of the night?
No,
Okay.
but you know who else has these? Dad.
Also, it's genetic.
I think it's genetic. Anyway, so we're gonna have to take it a step out. I think the concealer's gonna have to come out.
Okay, so
Aw.
there's something going on there.
I
Aging,
think-
possibly.
Yeah, but it's really come on in like the last sort of month. I've actually also been putting spoons in the freezer, but then one of them got stuck to my skin.
Really?
Yeah, because it was so cold,
Yeah.
and I got a bit worried that if I pulled it, then it would rip the
So
skin.
what did you do?
It warmed up, and so then it sort of unstuck.
Okay.
But
Oh,
don't
yeah.
do that.
No, I wouldn't.
That's
think
not a
of
good
that.
idea. So I've been trying like different therapies. I've
Well-
been trying to do like, massaging and things like that. But because I have also been thinking like, is it because I'm overworking?
You kind of are quite easily led down to, not excess, I would say. It's not like that unhealthy. You can be a bit short fused, lack of less
Yeah.
patient. So it is something that it's part of your personality, I suppose, to a certain degree.
Yeah. But what is that? I mean, is it like, I know I'm a people pleaser.
Mm.
I know that. And I think I try to do a lot,
Mm.
not just for others, also for myself, because I
Okay.
think I'm like, I want to achieve these things. One of my resolutions actually this year has definitely been to like try and focus on one project at a time.
I suppose it's an element of, are you looking at, okay, so if you're a bit of you are a people pleaser for sure. But I think there is an element of boundaries, maybe like not having clear boundaries with your work.
But it's tough because I want to do these things. So it's not even like I always imagine boundaries would be something, not doing things that don't serve you. Like, I feel like all of these things are like enriching to me and like good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always imagine, like, when people talk about, how is it, for some reason, when you say boundaries, it takes me straight back to like Peloton, and they're always talking about like, set your boundaries, you know, you need to like set your boundaries for exercise. Like, this is your time. Like, let nobody like encroach on it. And, you know, you need to like spend time for yourself and blah, blah, blah. And I always go back to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a term that social media has just like, you know, what social media, the wellness industry, you know, apps and all of that stuff, I think has definitely exploded on the like boundaries. But then I think all kind of therapy / psychology terms have come into mainstream.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like we talk about triggers, we talk about nervous system regulation, we talk about like I suppose people pleasing, boundary setting, emotional, you know, security.
Yeah.
These are things that used to be what therapists would talk to a patient about, and now we're using them mainstream. And I think obviously there is, like everything, when you start using it, probably half of it is incorrect, and the other side, it's made it, you know, it's kind of statementy, it's a bit clickbaity, like how to set your boundaries, how to become less, you know, 10 ways to reduce triggers. So I feel like that's and Peloton's a perfect example of that, literally a perfect example.
But it's really hard because I feel like you became a mum not all that, you know, long ago.
No boundaries with children.
No boundaries.
Or dogs, actually.
Or dogs.
I literally have 4 sets of eyes just staring at me whilst I pee.
It's like being Big Brother house.
Yeah, literally, like, I'm like,
what is she going to do now?
Exactly. Literally got, I'd say actually dogs have even less boundaries, honestly. Like, they do not care what they witness.
They just follow you everywhere.
Yeah, they follow you, they stare, they beg, they plead, they look at you so intently that you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But I suppose that's different. It's kind of children and animals. But I think boundaries is it's an interesting one, actually, because I suppose there's nothing new about it in the in the cycle of life. I was going to say the circle of life.
You've been watching a lot of Lion King.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly.
But I think it's just that now it's like a thing to talk about.
But is it just over? I mean, is it even possible? Like, if you're a parent, I can only imagine, like, what are boundaries? I mean, to your point, you have none with your kids.
When it comes to actually raising your kids, you do need to have boundaries, because that's the whole thing. It's like a framework of like what you allow to encroach, as it were, into your own personal space. And with children, it's a different thing because you're raising them and they are under your care and your responsibility. But like, I think in terms of for an adult, let's say boundaries at work, clearly there's a need to be able to impose yourself, your identity, your needs, your requirements within a work setting, and someone who then doesn't respect that is encroaching on your boundaries. Having said that, I think responsibility is a big one, because people could easily say, oh, my boss is asking me to do, more work than the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Is that him being...
is that him overstepping your boundary?
Or is it just the responsibilities of having a good job in this particular company?
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to manage that in a way which is, it's probably, I get paid a great salary, therefore I probably am required to go above and beyond sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of thriving in a competitive industry or world, I think. Yeah. And that's probably an example. But I suppose where it comes down to is, as long as it doesn't really affect your fundamental well-being. So I think, for example,
is that what you're trying to protect?
I suppose your fundamental well-being. Like, if you work too much every so often, that's okay, I imagine, in most case scenarios. But then if you're working so much, so often to meet the requirements of your boss or your business or your company, to the point where you are no longer well, i.e. heading towards a burnout or a breakdown, that is not good. As in, that's your boundaries being crossed in an unhealthy way.
Okay.
And I think that because of
Boundaries have been coming down.
Yeah, because naturally it's
Work,
now accessible.
you take work at home
Yeah.
because you've got it in your phone, on your laptop. It's like beeping whenever you
and
need to.
it's a vicious circle. The more you do that, the more people expect that of you, and the more your personal boundaries get trodden on, I suppose.
So this is actually, when it comes to dietetics and with my patients, there is actually an element. I've always called it more like expectation management. I don't know if that kind of
How
is
tell
one
me
and
the
the other.
context.
So the context is typically in weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
whereby, especially when you go eat out, people kind of identify you as being that person who will like share fries or split a dessert.
Really?
Or,
is that a thing?
Yeah, because it's kind of like, oh, that person, you know, they're always up for like
Sharing.
getting snacks. You know, if you're having some drinks and you're like, oh, let's get some bits to eat. I'm that person, 100%. I will never say no to like snacks with drinks. But if someone's trying to lose weight and so they're changing their behavior and their patterns,
Okay.
I always do, not necessarily warn is the bad word, but, you know, discuss with my patients, like, you might want to have a conversation with your loved ones. If you say no, that they respect that.
Yeah. So it's like a social response, like a social acceptance of what you're going through.
Yeah. And I guess because it's a perception of who you are is changing, that boundary is shifting, right? Like you used to be the person who would say yes.
Yeah.
And then now you're setting that boundary and you're like, no, like I'm doing this for myself.
Yeah.
It could be for health purposes,
Yeah.
for whatever. And suddenly you are having to manage other people.
Yeah. Oh, but I think boundaries definitely is rooted in identity. Because if you really think about that, if you think about each of our boundaries, and we're not talking here in this conversation, is nothing to do with, of course, consent is a not, you know, like a non-negotiable, you know, violence, aggression, etc. Those are things that you don't accept. But you know, the social norm boundaries that we're talking about, they are your identity somewhat. They are part of your identity. Because if you are, you know, even you know, who you are in your friendship group, like you said, the person who always, you know, drinks a bit too much, or you know, the friends you go out for dinner with who are going to be a good fun because they're like, let's get this. And then the friends who are like, oh, I'm just going to have a little, you know, tiny thing to eat, and then one glass of wine, and then at the end of it, I'm just going to take that out of the bill. And all of that is part of, like, you know, the identity of who these people, you know, of your friends, and it's same with family members. And I suppose that's where people pleasing come in, because people pleasing personalities is not, I think it's actually not really so much of a trait, but more of a kind of a coping mechanism.
Oh, being a self-professed people pleaser, like it's rooted in your identity,
and that's rooted in your identity. Exactly.
You are not that person who helps people or who is always facilitating something for others, then who are you? You're not the funny one, you're not the smart one, you're not. That's the belief that you have about yourself, right? About your identity. There's something I've never ever spoken to you about, or like anyone ever. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because this is something that I think directly plays into this whole people pleasing. But I don't know if you knew, but in primary school,
an identical twin sister.
In primary school, I was bullied.
Yeah.
And one of the things about bullying is that it pushes you into a corner. And so you develop a very rigid identity of who you are, which is usually a very small person who has a very specific role. And I think one of the coping mechanisms of being bullied is that you want to people please, because that's the way people are going to like you, and you'll reintegrate the mainstream cool kids. And I used to, this is so terrible, I've never even admitted this to mum and dad, but I remember I used to go into like mum and dad's wallet and like take like a 10 quid or 20 quid or something like that. I know. And I would buy sweets.
Oh, to help
to give out to people to make them like me.
Oh, that's actually really sad, Clem.
I know.
How much do you think you've taken from them?
Do you want to take it out of the inheritance?
No, I mean, I think they're going to be watching this and they're going to be like, give me back
Give
my money.
me back with interest.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Oh no, that's actually really sad.
yeah. And I did it for like, it must have been like a few months. This was my last year at primary school. And it was genuinely the only way that I felt like I could create my identity. Was I needed to make these people like me. And how do you make kids like you? You give them sweets. Like, it's kind of a very basic equation. And that did definitely have an impact into like my later years, and then eventually like dealt with it, and I became much more confident and things like that. So I think,
but see, what you just said is exactly that. It's confidence, isn't it, as well?
it's confidence rooted and it's identity rooted, right? It's about telling myself like, I don't have to be the nicest person for people to accept me. Like, I don't need to always be doing things for others. It's okay for me to say no.
I mean, it's definitely exactly.
Can I just
you've
say,
kind of hit the nail on the head there, because it is.
You didn't cry at my story.
Oh, no, I'm not. I've got some in my eye.
You cry all the time though.
Yeah, I know, but there's no dogs or puppies or
children.
Actually, there is young children, but not small enough.
Sorry, yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, no. So I do think it is rooted in. So it's a coping mechanism, and there's a way of looking at it, which is, it's kind of on the same line as fight, flight, freeze, and people please. And the reason is because fight, flight, freeze are responses to threat.
They're survival.
They're survival.
Yeah.
But responses to threat, essentially adversity.
Yeah.
And then how you cope with them, is different to each person.
Yeah.
So there's different kind of mechanisms that come out. So it could be overeating, over drinking, pushing things down.
Yeah.
There's a whole array of different ways depending on which one you engage in. And people please is one of them. The reason being is that because we are primed to belong and primed to be part of a kind of a pack. And, if back in the cave days, you were not liked or not respected or not desired, etc., you would be basically dead, because you wouldn't be in the cave. You'd be out in the woods and you wouldn't survive.
I'm not that old. I wasn't in the cave
No,
days.
but that's where your
No.
brain kind of survival mechanism comes from. So people pleasing is another way. It's kind of an evolved way of dealing with threat, because it is a social cue. It's accepting social cues. So you have there's a principle which is called not principle. It's called the feign response, I think, and it's essentially about very young. You start developing social cues, reading people, essentially reading the room, understanding what people
like
want,
body language, and
everything
things like that. Yeah,
what people want, and then you start to use that in a way to be liked, to be accepted, to belong, to be part of the group that you are looking to integrate. And as a result of doing that, of course, you put away your emotional needs. You don't look after what you want. You actually forget what you want, because you're trying to please all these different types of people. You're kind of looking at every time something, decision comes up, i.e. like a situation comes up, you are then having to think of like, okay, what's the best outcome for everyone? But therefore, you're not actually
looking after yourself.
And more importantly, because you're looking at everything around you, it's an outward gaze. You're not doing the inward gaze. So therefore, as we were speaking last week, the introspection is not there, because you're not asking yourself, what do I need? What do I want?
Okay, so this might be the therapy session that I needed, because this is why we had to do this podcast, by the way. It's things like this because of the conversations that we do. But I've literally just had an epiphany where I think that when I get overwhelmed with work, I revert back to
very normal
my coping
mechanism,
mechanism, which is people pleasing.
Yeah. And that is exactly, so one of the things that I deal with a lot at work is indecision. And people basically come to me because they're making decisions. They don't know what. So they're looking for a coach to help them with indecision, decision paralysis, not knowing what to do next, etc.
Yeah.
And in that, the part of it that is related to people pleasing is huge, because if you think about it, on a very basic level, if you're constantly, you're coming up to a decision, your brain, the first thing it does is looking around and it's like, oh, what does my mum want? What does my partner want? What does so-and-so want? What the girls at school? You know, you're looking at everyone else. It basically means your options have like quadrupled. Whereas if you actually looked in and go, what do I want? What do I need? Those are, so okay.
But
Follow me with this. Follow with this.
Okay.
One sec. So then you are then crowding your brain with so much more options, which then makes you feel like overwhelmed with different outcomes because you're trying to please everyone. That's your natural state of like essentially your coping mechanism that you're used to, and you're trying to find a way that everyone gets the outcome that they desire, which is, we all know it's not a possibility. So you're faced with, as a result, you make decisions a lot slower, you stagnate, you procrastinate, and
so it's a vicious circle.
It's a vicious circle, and then you don't have the clarity that you need to make the decision going forward because you are just trying to weigh out so many different outcomes because your natural state is that of looking outwards instead of looking inwards. And I think it's obviously so much easier said than done because you then have to understand that it was a child, it was a response as a child to cope with something, which is totally acceptable in the sense of like there's nothing wrong in itself of that.
No.
But as an adult, you no longer need to operate in that way.
Yeah.
You have to kind of accept that that was something you did as a kid. It might have been because you were the youngest child. It might have been because, you know, like you said, you were bullied at school, you know, the cause. You know, there's different reasons. But then those bullies are no longer around. There's no longer that threat.
Yeah.
There's no longer that requirement to please people. You know, you are now an adult version of yourself who is capable of just going, I want to decide what I want to do and I don't need to please people around me. But part of the work there is first of all to get to the root cause, which is definitely something I would do with clients.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that is understanding it is going to be uncomfortable because going from one to the other doesn't feel good. This is going back to what we started the conversation on. I think this is what mainstream media and social media, etc., is getting very loud about, like, put your boundaries, make it, you know, say no more than you say yes. But that's kind of a bit of extreme. I feel like there's a good middle ground where essentially if you get back to at an identity level that you feel works for you.
Yeah, which is not taking too much away from you, which is actually like...
Yeah, which means you still can say yes and you can...
But you still have to live within your world. I think this is the reality of it. It's like saying no more than you say yes. You're like, well, that's not realistic.
Because it's a very easy toolkit method of being like, you're putting your boundaries because you're, you know, your self-care, self-love.
If it doesn't bring you immediate joy, you know, hang on, like there's something sometimes you just do need to be saying yes, whether or not you want to do them.
But I think once you start understanding why you operate that way and where it stems in your, I suppose, on your personal path, because some people it will be for different reasons that they have people pleasing problems, like people pleasing tendencies, and therefore I think that once you address that and kind of correct it in a way which works for you, you will find that making decisions. And kind of in your case, I suppose, your work-life balance, you will be so much less overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe, okay, so two things. One is if you are a people pleaser, like I am, what's the first step to recovery?
Well, I think these types of conversations to start with, because in the sense you're trying to understand first what the root cause of it is. And I suppose at what point in your life is it affecting you? Is it affecting your, you know, like I said, I deal mostly on the decision element of it, on how it affects someone making a decision and going forwards, because it's kind of frozen them in time because they're at an impasse where they...
I don't feel like I'm frozen in time, but I feel like I am probably taking on more than I can cope with. And I think the excess that I am taking on is for the benefit of others because I love them, right? It's rooted in love. It's not like when I was being bullied, which is where I was craving acceptance, but it was, you know, these are the people that I love and I want to help and support them as much as I can. But I also have to look after myself.
Yeah. So I suppose, first of all, I mean, clearly you have very good awareness of it and you're acknowledging it. So I suppose you just have to find a middle ground where it's not a default mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
And it's not just you're reverting back to it and you find yourself afterwards being like, oh, I didn't really, really want to do that, but I did it anyway. Or I should have, looked after my time and my kind of focus, but actually I gave it away to someone else because it just felt, easier at the time. So if it remains in the conscious choice element, like part of your brain, then I think it's okay. It's just the way you want to be. But if it becomes like a default mechanism, I think then that's where you have to address it more. And maybe even every time that you feel like you're at that crossroads, you just start looking inwards and go, what do I want? Because that's something that you'll have tuned out of.
Yeah, I think that sometimes
and so if you tune back in, like, what do I want? What do I need? What do I desire? And then if you can answer those things, then I think you have a better
So we come back to introspection.
Introspection, yeah.
Okay, so Ollie, I can't babysit anymore for the next few months because I am introspecting. No, I'm joking. I love babysitting for you. Well,
yeah.
I say for you. I do it more for me, I think.
Yeah. But
actually, I love babysitting because that forces me to be present. And that's something that I don't do often.
Yeah.
When you're with a kid, like, you have to be in the moment.
You have to.
And that's kind of cool.
Well, I suppose you don't have to, but if you, some people are distracted. But I think it is the best way of trying to be with them.
Yeah. I feel very seen. Like, I know that sounds really weird, but I do feel like that.
Yeah, that does sound weird. Tell me more.
Well, because I feel like it sort of makes sense of, I think, these patterns. And like you said, like, these are recurring patterns that I've been having around, like, usually when I start something new, like whether it's a new job or living in a new country or something, I kind of ramp it up. There's that really happy middle where it's sort of, I'm not completely overwhelmed and I'm still discovering. And then I continue to, like, accumulate. And I think the more that happens, then the more I get afraid. There's like a fear of, like, what if I'm not accepted? Or, I guess it's, and yeah, what if there's like the acceptance piece, but there's also I also put a lot of pressure on myself. And so my way of coping with that is, well, I'm going to stop listening to myself and I'm just going to help everyone else. And then that will feed into the sort of acceptance piece and the achievement, because I'm achieving lots of other things for other people. And then I work myself up into, like, a burnout. Or
so why don't you ask yourself this then, every time that you feel like that's cropping up, look in that situation, just say to yourself, what is the threat? Actually, what's the social threat here? And then if you can say to yourself, oh, just not making everyone happy, oh, this happening, you'll be able to then really bring attention to actually what you're trying to resolve, and maybe that will be sufficient for you to go, oh, this is a good time for Clemmy to step in and Clemmy to say, no, Clemmy wants this.
Because my subconscious is Clemmy.
Yeah, your subconscious, exactly. And so, but like what you just said, because you said it's a fear, then ask yourself, what is that threat? What is that social fear? And then when you say it out loud, you might then realize, okay, this is when I'm the people pleasing versus just being a decent, kind person. Because there's nothing wrong as well with helping others, but it's just finding that middle ground. Because it is a type of survival mechanism, basically, and in that case.
Yeah. It's
a learnt behavior, and you just have to acknowledge that when it comes up at those times. It's no longer about overstress, overworking, success equals, super long hours and working yourself to the core. That kind of movement has passed into this other one, which is now...
Beg to differ.
but as in, like, it's no longer...
like a flex.
I suppose, is that how you use the word flex?
Is that what the young people...
Yeah,
as
exactly.
in, like, it used to be a badge of honor.
Exactly.
And I do think, but I still think, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I actually think there still is a glamorization over oh my gosh, I'm so busy.
Yes, busy, yes, but not that success equals like being, working so crazy and being. I don't think there's so much more space, at least now, for you to include well-being, wellness, health into your success story.
But then isn't that also misleading? Because I think people who are successful, behind that,
yeah, of course, it's
there's
misleading.
tons of work, and
but
there's
social media is misleading. It's pretending.
Oh, so you're saying that it's like a misleading message? Well, it's not like a real thing.
No. What I'm saying is that movement now of this generation is about, all these new.
Oh yeah, they're much more about wellness.
Yes,
but they still want success.
Yeah, but they want it without doing as much work.
This is
and
it,
without,
which is not realistic.
Of course, social media isn't necessarily going in that direction because it doesn't, get as much clicks and as much views and stuff. But this is what my point being more around the messaging is that because it's moved into that boundaries need to be hard and very tough and very exclusive and they're immobile, etc. I think that is not allowing for the reality of, well, if you want to be successful, you're going to have to put in the hard work, and you're going to. But it's a tuning that balance.
Yeah,
tuning that balance. Tuning that.
Fine-tuning the balance.
Yeah,
I think actually this is also another really good point. Boundaries are not immovable.
No.
Right? Like, and then maybe this is where also thinking about if you do want to achieve something, you might have to change your boundaries so that you're kind of prioritizing whatever that thing is for the time being and then moving that back. And then like when you have kids.
I've got pins and needles.
You got
really bad pins and needles. like
you're right.
My leg's dead.
Do you want me to massage?
No. Oh my God, I'm dying.
This is how intense you were, like.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What happens? What is the actual thing around pins and needles?
It's the blood flow. Because crossing legs like limits your blood flow. And now you've got.
Like I'm gonna lose my limb.
You have to like move your toes. It's really painful. But you want to get the blood circulation going back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A little bit of first aid. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're getting old.
No, it's nothing to do with age. But it is to do with crossing your legs, you're right.
But yeah, boundaries are not permanent.
I suppose it's like part of a toolkit to deal with something bigger or deeper.
Yeah.
And if you can address that, then you're more likely to have healthy, natural boundaries than having these kind of, very obsessive one about like, don't say yes too much and don't be, the one you read, it's like people sucking your time and energy. It's like, obviously try and not spend time with people that suck your time and energy. Like that's a pretty obvious thing. But, it's that kind of stuff where you're like, but maybe if your boss is someone who takes a lot of your energy, that's okay because he's your boss and he's paying you your salary and you chose to do that job. So, it's kind of, there's an element of, and
kind of being reasonable
with it. But if you address the root cause of it, supposedly, I think you can get back to having decent boundaries. And that, again, maybe you're in an environment where there's like a narcissistic personality that really needs to be removed, or you need to be, that's different. Again, if it's in a workplace or in a relationship or something where there's no reasoning there. But I think that, the way you deal with it is definitely part of kind of a coping mechanism, which is fine because we all have them, but you kind of identify.
So from a life coach perspective, so we've talked about, people pleasing, boundary setting.
I used to think it'd be really ick to be a life coach.
Yeah.
I actually don't care so much anymore about the title.
Titles don't mean anything.
They don't really mean anything. You see all this stuff on social media and LinkedIn and like, mindset and business coaching, confidence coaching, and you just think actually in the end of it, I, at the beginning was a bit like, maybe this is a bit ick to be life coach because what does that mean? But in the end, it doesn't really matter, does it?
I remember my old boss, referred him to himself, and this was on his business card. It was Chief Paperclip Officer.
Really?
Yeah, because
What was he actually?
CEO.
Oh,
But he was like, it's a title. I mean,
Yeah.
and he
And he
would
was
hand out,
probably-
and he was handing out his cards. He was like, people can call me whatever they want. Like,
Yeah.
it's
that's quite cool. I like that.
so there you go. You can be.
I like that. Also, probably as a CEO, doing a lot of paperwork.
You could be Chief Sticker Officer.
Post-its. I love post-its.
So you can be Post-it Officer. Chief Post-it Officer.
PTO. Post-it officer. Pito.
Post-it Officer.
P.
PO.
No, PIT. Wait.
No,
Post-it
Post-it Officer. PIO. Pure.
Got that completely wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so we've talked about boundary setting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, no, we started with people pleasing.
Mm.
I gave you my really sad life story.
Mm.
And then you were saying, like, from a coaching perspective,
Mm.
how that can be like a real precursor to sort of indecision, basically. It's
And
something
overwhelm.
that an overwhelm.
Yeah.
So let's say you have, a 35-year-old blonde woman sitting in front of you
Mm.
who's self-professed as being a people pleaser in a
Looking
maybe in
for-
a situation
just
of
just a
overwhelm.
girl walking into a bookshop looking for love.
Just looking for post-its.
No, do you know? I got that from Notting Hill.
I know.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I know my references.
Yeah.
What would be the one step, the one thing you would say, start with that, whatever, like, as the next thing that you do? What would be the first?
Because
piece
at the
of
moment
advice?
you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with things or stretched thin.
This is a hypothetical
Yes, your avatar. Okay.
person.
But I would go and ask that when you see her next.
Yeah.
Next time you bump into her, and she's feeling overwhelmed, then I suppose I think, like what I said to you, I think I would say like, when you're looking at like options and choices,
Yeah.
just think in your head, like, is it really a threat?
Okay. So take it choice by choice, like as they come.
Yeah.
And
And like,
sort of-
what is the social threat here?
So figure out what the social threat is that you're trying to compensate
yeah.
for, and then assess as things come at you. Is this?
And I really, really, truly think this is something that I battled with myself on the kind of less so extreme, but you will not please everyone. It's just an impossible task. And the more you say that to yourself, the more it becomes like an acceptance. Like, yeah, people, whatever decision you make in any circumstances ever, you won't please everyone.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you start operating from that that mindset, then you can just kind of remove the pressure that someone will be a bit unhappy about the outcome, a bit disappointed because you didn't turn up, because you said no, because you cancelled, or happy because you came, because you did this, because you helped them, or indifferent. And ultimately, it doesn't matter as long as you're looking after yourself. Then it doesn't matter.
So you cannot please everyone all the time.
Never. Yeah.
So as a high achieving people pleaser, I'm going to take that challenge. No, I'm joking. Yeah. No, and I think that's a good reminder. Really important reminder. Thank you so much for catching us this week. Catch the new episodes every Wednesday wherever you get your podcasts, on every major platform. And that's going to be a wrap for us today.